Yeah, morning all. So before I start, can anyone please confirm whether my voice is clear, whether the screen is visible or not?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So today I discuss about some basics of Python, data types, variables, data types and variables in Python. Right. every organization use case has got data and operations, has got data and operations. Data represented using data types or variables. Operations represented using functions. Right? Data represented using data types or variables. Operations represented using functions. Any organization, if you take, you got data and operations. For example, if you take the example of a bank, bank consists of data and operations. Bank consists of customers and employees. Again, customers will have data and operations. Right? Data, operations. Data is nothing but like a customer name, some Ajay, account number, customer name, account number, $90,000 balance, branch Hyderabad, right? Yes. The customers has got data and operations, data represented, right? Yes, using data types or variables. Operations like deposit operation, withdraw operation, transfer operation. These are data represented using functions. So data represented using data types or variables, operations represented using functions. Using functions we discussed later. Now we are discussing like data types or variables. Similarly, for employees also will have data and operations like data, employees data, employee ID, employee name, salary, designation, employee ID, employee name, salary, designation, and similarly operations. calculating tax, calculating HRA, calculating net salary. So this is all like using data types or variables. Using data types or variables. And this using functions. So data represented using data types or variables, operations using functions. Any organization, if we take any organization has got data operations, data by using data types or variables, operations using functions. Okay. If you are comparing C, C++, Java with Python, if we compare C, C++, Java with Python, Python supports dynamic data types. Python supports dynamic data types. We compare C, C++, Java with Python. Python supports dynamic data types. For example, in other programmings, right? C, C++ or Java, if you want to give x as 10 compulsory, we say int x. Y equal to 4.5, we need to say float y. We need to say like string z. So x equal to 10, we need to say int x. Y equal to 4.5, we need to say float y. String z equal to hello, we need to say string z. But in case of Python, we no need to define this data type. Directly, we can say x as 10, y as 4.5, z as hello. Directly, we can say x as 10, y as 4.5, z as hello. So here, what kind of variable x is means based on the data type defining, we are saying it is integer variable. What kind of variable y is float? What kind of variable z is it's string type? But here, what kind of variable x or y or z is? What value you are assigning to it? What value you are assigning to it? If you are assigning an integer value, integer variable gets created. If you are assigning a float variable, if you are assigning a float value, float variable gets created. If you are assigning a string value, string variable gets created. Type of x. Type of x is what type? There is a function called type function to know the way type of variable. Type of x is what? Integer type. Type of y is what type?
Float.
Float, because you assigned a float value, right? It will be like float type. Type of z?
String.
Type of z is what type? String type. Yes. What value you are assigning? What value you are assigning to x? Based on that, the variable x is going to get created dynamically. Yes. So now I'm going to discuss 4 cases here. I'll be discussing 4 cases to make you understand about this. What happens internally when you define some variables here in Python. Okay. For case 1, defining a variable. X value is 10. Whenever you say x equal to 10, what happens internally? Internally, one object gets created. One object with value 10, right? An object with value 10 is going to get created. That object is going to occupy some address, physical memory location address, right? Assume like some address. This is the address. This address is given by, taken by X. Now try to answer what X is storing. What X is storing. Don't say like X is storing a 10. What X stores? X stores the
Object
address.
address.
X stores the address. Here, three things you need to understand. Print X. Whenever I say print X, right? Whenever I say print X, it goes to this address. It goes to this address and prints the content whatever present at that address. It prints the content present at that address. Prints the content at that address. What is it? Okay, sorry. Prints the content means what is the content? 10. Prints the content at that address. It goes to the print X means it goes to this address and prints whatever content present at that address. If I say print, if I want to print the address itself, ID, there is a function called ID. ID of X prints the address of X. Prints the address of X. What is the address? 10307060. Type of X. One more like type of X, right? Type function for prints the type of X. Prints the data type of X. What data type? Integer type. Understood, right? How to print the content, how to print the address, how to print the type. Printing the content, printing the address, printing the type. Prints the content at that address, prints the address of X, prints the data type of X. Data type is what type? Integer. Now case 2. Now observe this case 2, right? Yes. X value 10, Y value 20. Yes, everyone try to respond, right? You can unmute yourself or can give a response even in the short panel, right? Try to answer X is 10, Y is 20. How many objects will be created? How many objects will be created? X is 10, Y is 20.
One object. Two, sir.
Everyone.
Two objects.
Two, sir. Two objects.
For 10, one object with value 10 with some address. The address given to X. For Y equal to 20, one more object with value 20 with some address. The address given to Y. X is 10, Y is 20. Now two different, okay. Now try to say, everyone try to answer what is print x? Yes.
Int is
Print x, what is x? Print x goes to the address and
10.
10.
10. If I want to print ID of x, ID address, where exactly it is stored, what is it?
103070.
10307.
Type data type of x. What
Int, sir.
Int is
Int.
now print y?
20.
To print y is 20. Prints goes to this address and prints the content at that address.
104090.
ID of y.
Sir, 1040.
104090. Type of y.
Int, sir.
Type of y is int. So here print x, address of x, type of x. Print y, address of y and type of y. Yes, two different variables with two different values, then two different objects with two different addresses. Observe here, two different variables with two different values, then two different objects with two different addresses. Case 2. Case 3. Observe this case 3, right? Yes. So if you have got any queries, you can just unmute yourself and ask then and there itself, right? So I want the sessions to be interactive. So try to keep responding, right, with whatever answer, if that is correct or wrong, either through voice or through chat panel, right? You can give your responses. X value is 10, Y X and Y are 2. How many objects?
One each, 2.
One object.
Total 2, sir.
1 or 2?
2,
One.
sir.
For X1, for Y1.
Totally 2.
2 objects. Total 2, sir. Total 2.
Observe carefully here. Totally only one object will be created. Only one object gets created.
Oh yeah,
For
both
this?
numbers are same.
Object is 10 with some address X. Before creating object for Y, it checks any object with value 10 is already existing. See, Y is 10. It checks any object with value 10 is already existing. If exists, the same address will be given. If doesn't exist, a new object will be created. For example, X is 10, Y is 10, Z is 10. Do you think 3 objects with value 10 gets created? Only one object
One
10 will be, its address will be given to X, Y, and Z. For example, if X value is 10, Y is 20, Z is 30, in such case, how
3,
many
sir.
objects?
Then 3, sir.
3 objects with 3 different addresses. If the values are same, one object. If values are different, multiple objects will be created.
Sir, if X is 10, Y is 10, and Z is 20, then 2 objects. Huh?
Yes, for X and Y, one object, Z, one object.
Yeah.
X, Y, and Z, X, Y, and Z, they are sharing the same content 10 and they are sharing the same address, right? They are sharing the same content and the address. X, Y, and Z, this is Z, sorry. X, Y, and Z, they are sharing the same content and the address. Can I say like this? Print X equal to print Y equal to print Z.
Yes, sir.
What is the value?
10.
10. Print address of X, address of Y, address of Z. What is that?
103070.
103070. Type type of X, type of Y, type of Z.
Int.
Integer type, right? Yes.
Yeah.
If the values are same, only one object, only one address. If values are different, multiple objects, multiple addresses. This is case 3.
Okay, sir.
Observe this case 4. Next case 4. Type of X, type of Y, type of Z. What type? Integer type. Try to answer now. Yes. Type of Y in the previous example depends upon this example, right? Type of Y is here also 10 value only. If you give 4.5, you can say type of Y is float. Here all are 10, 10, 10. What your value are assigned, right? X plus Y in case 3. X plus Y in case 3 will be 20. So here some queries were asked, right? Yes. So why don't we call print type of Y is float. As before example, we are assigning X as int, Y as float, Z as string. Here, the previous example is different. This example, depending upon that, what is the value of Y? What value I assigned to Y? Integer only. What value I assigned to Z? Integer only. What value I assigned to this? So the type of X is int, type of Y is int, type of Z is int.
Yeah.
Type of X, type of Y, type of Z. Really? Okay. Case 4, right? Now try to observe this case 4. X is 10, and X value is 20. Here both X and X. How many objects gets created? I will show you all these things practically, right? I will show you all these things back. So X value is 10, X is 20.
2 objects.
1 or 2. X and X, not XY here.
1.
2 objects. 2 objects.
So X equal to 10, one object creates first here, one object gets created. One object with some address. The address is given to X.
1 object will be override.
So X equal to 20 means one more object for 20 with some address. The address is given to X. That's fine. Now up to here it's okay. What is print X? If I say print X, what is the X value? Whether it will print 10 or 20 or both? Everyone.
First 10.
Whether it will print 10 or 20 or will it print both? Everyone, give your responses.
20. 20 second one. It will overlap with 10.
20.
20.
Yeah. For example, your salary last year 50,000. Your salary this year 80,000. Print salary means what it prints? Current salary, right?
Yeah.
The same way here, x value 10, next line x value 20. Always the latest value will be considered, right?
Yeah.
Always the latest value will be considered. So here x value is 20.
20.
X is 20. Print address of x 1060.
1060.
106080.
Type of x will be
Int.
integer type.
Int.
But again, second time again, if I say print x, second time again I will say print x. Will it print 10 or 20?
10.
20.
Again here
Can
I
you
will
repeat the question, sir?
again I will say print x here. What is x value it prints?
Again 20.
Every time it is 20.
Every time it is going to, is there any chance of
Yeah.
printing this value 10?
No.
When we will print after like x equals to 10, then print, then x equals to 20, then print, then the first print will be 10.
So here after printing this, I'll print x. Will it print a 10?
No.
All right. What happens to this previous object 10? If you want to understand what happens to the previous object, there is a small concept called garbage collector. Garbage collector. It's too early to discuss that, but later I'll discuss that in brief with multiple examples. But just I'll give an overview what happens to this object 10. This object 10, what happens to this, whether it's existing or removed or available or not available. For that, I'll go back to this case 3, right? I'm writing garbage collector. Garbage collector removes unused or unreferred objects. Removes unused or unreferred objects. Unreferred. Garbage collector removes unused or unreferred objects from the memory. What do you mean by unused or unreferred objects? Objects whose reference count becomes 0. Whose reference count becomes 0, then those objects we call as unused or unreferred objects. Whose reference count becomes 0, then immediately these objects gets removed. These objects gets removed by the garbage collector automatically. Then immediately these objects gets removed by the garbage collector. You may ask, what is this reference count? What is this reference count and when it becomes 0? Reference count. Just observe this. What do you mean by reference count? Number of variables pointing to an object. Or number of variables storing address of an object. Number of variables pointing to an object, number of variables storing address of a object.
Sir, I have a question.
Hmm.
So if I will delete the x equals to 20, then before that the x equals to 10 is already in garbage collector, right?
Yes.
So when I will delete the x equals to 20, then it comes from there.
No.
So if I'll again print, then nothing will print.
Yes. Nothing.
Okay.
So what happens to the previous X? I'm going to say here number of way. See, what do you mean by ref? See, what do you mean by garbage collector? Means removes unused or unreferred objects from the memory. And objects, what do you mean by unused or unreferred? Means objects whose reference count becomes 0, then immediately those objects gets removed by garbage collector. What is that reference count becoming 0? Number of variables storing address of an object. If you go back right in this example, how many variables are pointing to this object to 10? This object to 10 is
3.
how many variables are pointing? Yes.
3.
X is pointing, Y is
Y.
pointing, Z is pointing.
3.
So reference count is what? 3. Number of variables storing the address of an object. X, Y, Z, they're storing the same object address. They're pointing to the same, so reference count 3. Slowly what I do? I'm modifying the Y value to 20. It was 10. I'm modifying to 20. Means a new object gets created with value 20 with some new address. That address is stored by Y. Now Y is storing the new object address. Now Y is not storing this. Y is not storing this. Y is storing the new object address.
Data is changed.
It will end up consuming all the memories if you.
So what is the
delete
reference
to
count now?
all the-
What is the reference count now?
2.
Slowly I am modifying the Z value also to 30. A new object with value 30 creates with some value 105060. That address is given to Y. Now Y is made to point to the new object. Y is not pointing to this. See, Z is pointing to the new object. Now Z is not pointing to this object. Now what is the reference count?
1.
Only X is pointing to this object. Y and Z, they are pointing to the new objects. Now slowly X value also modified to 50. This also modified to 50. Now what is the reference count? X is pointing to the new object. X is not pointing to this object. Now what is the reference count?
0.
0.
Or 10. 0.
Reference count is what? 0.
0.
Because 3 variables were pointing, reference count was 3, became 2, became 1, now became 0. If reference count becomes 0, what I said? Immediately garbage collector removes this object from the memory. So what happens to this object? Gets removed by the garbage collector whenever its reference count becomes 0, when no variable is pointing.
Okay.
Understood, right, everyone? These things I'll discuss later, right? With multiple examples. Just I've given an overview of this garbage collector.
Yeah.
So
understood.
based on this, I'll go back to this case 4. Now try to answer for this case 4, right? I was asking X is 10, X is 20. Always it prints to 20. What happens to the previous X? Available, not available, or removed? So first, forget about X equal 20 for some time.
X equals to
What is
10
the,
no,
forget about this X equal 20. What is the reference count of this?
1.
Only one variable X is pointing. Only one variable X is pointing. Now I made X value modified to 20. X is pointing to the new object. Now X is not pointing to this. X is pointing to the new object 20. Now X is not pointing. What is the reference count now?
0.
Zero.
Zero. Whenever reference count 0 means immediately garbage collector.
Garbage Yeah.
Means what happens to the previous object?
It's
Gets-
deleted.
Yes,
Garbage
gets removed by the garbage collector.
Garbage collector.
So I'll show you the 4 cases now practically, right? So yesterday I was showing you the installation of Python. So whenever we go to this start programs, check where your Python is available. It's all apps. 3.11. We click this 3. What is the first thing we see? IDLE, right? Click that IDLE. Python.
Can we make a shortcut of this?
Python, yes, you can see here. I made a shortcut here.
Hello, Vijay.
Yes.
Are there any instances where we will end up printing a reference value? I mean, a reference is 0.
Reference count you are talking?
Not count. Let's say in some programming, if it is trying to print which has a reference 0, I mean, reference count is 0. I mean, garbage value basically, garbage memory.
If reference count equal to 0, the object got removed, right?
Yeah, removed.
It will display, sir. It will display that this one is removed. Like that.
Okay. So, okay, I wanted to know what would be the error when we try to print in such scenario. Is it going to give some kind of memory exception error or variable not found?
So here, 1 second. Now try to say in interactive mode, x value is 10.
Yeah.
Print x, I'm saying. Print 10. Next.
Next, x equal to 20.
X equal to 20. Print x. It always prints 20. Already 10 got removed. 10 gets removed. Just now I said why, because reference count becomes 0. Now x is pointing to the new object. Old object reference count becomes 0 and it gets removed. Print x always it prints 20. Print x always it prints 20. The 10 won't be available even a number of times. If you execute also, you won't get 10.
Okay.
Now observe this case 1, right? Yes. Case 1. I'm just showing you all these 4 cases practically now, right? Case 1. Defining a variable. For example, if I say x as 10, print x means prints the content. What it prints? Prints content present at that address. And if I want to print the address, what is the function? Yes. If I want to print the address of this x, ID of x. Print x, address of x, and type of x, data type of x. So yes, print x, it prints the content. Address means where exactly it is stored in the memory. That memory address it is going to print. Type of x is what? Integer type. Any name.py extension, I'm saying into 1.py, right? Run model. It prints the content, prints the address, prints the type. Content is 10. This is the address where exactly it is stored, and what is that address? Int type.
Sir, if it's a 10 point something, then the print type will like
Float.
no?
Yes.
Float. Okay.
Now observe this case 2. I'm copying the same code. If you want to write another code, write file, new file, right? Yes. One more. Case 2, what is case 2? Right. Defining, this is, observe this case 2 once. Two different variables with two different values, two different objects, two different addresses. Defining two different variables. Defining two different variables with two different values. Two different variables with two different values, then two different objects gets created. Two different variables with two different values, then two different objects gets created. Two different variables, two different values, then two different objects gets created with two different addresses. X value is 10, Y value is 20. Print X, address of X, type of X. Print Y, address of Y and type of Y. Print Y, address of Y, type of Y. Run module. What is the output you get? Service. 10 and 20, two different values, two different addresses, right? Yes. Two different values and two different addresses.
Hi, Vijay.
Yes.
This is a reference variable, right? X integer, whatever it may be, if you store it is creating the object, right?
Yes.
So will it store in heap or stack?
So it's
So
it's a fundamental type. It's not a collection type, right?
it is fundamental, but it is object, na?
It's an object. Internally, one object with some address gets created, right?
So which memory it occupies, heap location or stack location?
Heap.
Heap only.
Now observe this case 3. Case 3, right? Defining two different variables with, okay, defining two different variables with same values. Then defining two different variables with same values. Then only one object gets created. Only one object. Only one object gets created. And its address is returned, and its address is returned to both variables. Two different variables with same values, then only one object gets created and its address is returned to both the variables. X value is 10. Y is 10. Print X 10. So can you please answer the address of X and address of Y? Will it be same or different?
Same.
It has to be same, right?
Same.
Because the contents are same. Only one object, only one address, right? Okay, 10, its address, its type. 10, its content, its address, and its type. Now observe this case 4. I'll just copy this case 4. Defining two variables. Defining two variables, same name. Variables with same name, but with different values, Two variables with same name, but with different values. Two different objects gets created, and the previous one gets removed. This is the case for, right? This is the case for what we are discussing. See, X value 10, X value 20. Always the previous object gets removed and the latest value only will be printed. Print X, X is 10, X is 20. Always it prints 20. Address of X, type of X. Type of X is integer. Address where exactly is stored. Print X means always 20. Okay. Run module. Always it prints that 20, its address and its type. Any queries in case and all these 4 cases? Everyone have understood defining variables in Python, how to print the content, how to print this, the address, and their types, right? I got one query in case 3. In case 3, now try to answer X is 10, Y is 10. Address of X and address of Y are the same or different? Yes. Everyone. Same. If I give 10.0 here,
It will
address
change.
is same or different?
Same.
Before you answer, what will be the type of Y?
Float.
Float object.
But 0 may convert, I guess.
Type of X?
Int.
Int. Means here integer object created, here float object got created.
Yes.
So two different objects got created, right?
Yeah.
We'll have two different addresses, but yes, the address is different. 10 and 10.0 are not same. They print different.
Yes, sir.
10, 10.0. See, the addresses are different, right?
It's like the 10.1, 10.2, all having different addresses.
Yes.
Okay.
If the values are same, one object, but if values are different, multiple objects.
Okay.
Okay, understood, right? So next. We've got like fundamental types, data types, collection types. So I'll be discussing about fundamental data types, input, output statements, things, right?
Sir,
So-
is there any option to display like X is there in final result in a bracket like thing that X was there and it was removed like things? Any option is there?
Any option for what you want to print?
Like sir, X equal 10 and Y equals 20, then it will display directly 20, and in the bracket it will display 10 was there and it was removed for a difference.
You can say print. Within that print, whatever you print as it is, will be printed in the output screen.
Okay.
Okay, fine. So more discussion, right? Tomorrow we'll have more discussion on this. So you can follow the same link and same time, right? More discussion on this, right? So, right. So we have got a lot of discussion on strings, especially string indexing, string properties, string slicing, string functions, string methods, string special characters, right? Yes. So I'll stop for today. We'll continue tomorrow, more discussion. Any queries as part of today's session, anyone?
No.
Right. So I'm stopping for now. We'll continue tomorrow, right? More on this. Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.